Morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is you're meeting today. I'm Pastor Keith coming to you here on the second week of November, the second week of our November church pod gatherings, and I hope that you are all doing well. I'm in prayer for you all, in prayer for the church, and looking forward to seeing everyone together once again the last week of November, last Sunday of November. So there are 5 Sundays this month. So we have 4 in our groups and 5. The 5th one is going to be back up at church, 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock. Stay tuned for the sign-up links for those. We'll have the band together. I'll be preaching a second sermon from the book of Acts on hope. And we'll be gathering again for celebration. But in the meantime, we're together in spirit. The Lord is with you, and you guys are doing great in your groups. I'm hearing a lot of good reports from the groups on the rich conversations that are happening as we figure out this kind of new way of being church. Today you are getting into John chapter 6. This is a true buffet of scripture. There's so much going on in these verses, and I'm really excited to get to unpack those a bit for you this morning, to open those up for you just a little bit, so as you get together and read and share from your hearts, you have a good sense of what's going on in the chapter. It's also a reason, because of how dense this chapter is, it's also a reason why it's really important that we not try to master this text this morning. I invite you all to do hours and hours of good Bible study to help understand all that's going on here. But this morning, as you gather in groups, remember, it's less of trying to master the text and more of letting the text master us. We're gathering together to see what God might be saying to us as a group, because He's in the room here today with you as well. And so, again, it's really important that you try to, like we always try to do, but today it's most important that you try to find a word or a phrase or idea that you do understand and that is touching you in a special way in your heart, and not let that be what you share. But I'll just open up a couple of these challenges for you this morning from the chapter to clear some way. So this is a dense chapter, like I was saying, and part of the reason why it's dense is really 2 reasons. One of them is because of the nature of the encounter Jesus is having with the people. He is reading motives. He is interacting with a group of followers who are coming to him and expressing desire to follow him. And rather than reading the surface of what they were explaining to him or what they were communicating to them, he's reading down into their hearts and reading motives. So you have Jesus, who understands truly what's happening with this group of people, and he's trying to lead them very gently and patiently on the road to what they really truly need to understand and hear. But they're at every step of the way misunderstanding and in kind of trying to be in control of the conversation, in control of the relationship, drawing it to wherever they want it to go. So that's part of the reason why this is kind of a hard thing to follow, because you'd expect Jesus simply to be answering the questions that people are asking him, but really he's got something much different in mind. But also there's a lot of repetition in this teaching, and so a lot of Jesus coming back, kind of weaving through his most important ideas, which have to do with he being the true sustenance of the human experience. So, so he's reading hidden motives. Part of what we have to recognize here, part of what helps us understand this chapter, is that we sometimes think that Jesus was simply walking around with 12 followers, the 12 disciples, 12 apostles, and that's true, but there were so many more, and we know this because we have Matthias in Acts chapter 1 who gets replaces Judas in the circle of the 12. And what Peter said to the group was, we have to choose someone who's been with Jesus all along from the baptism until the resurrection to be his witness. We know that there were a lot of women who were following him, who were supporting him out of their own means. And so we have to have this picture and understand that we have the 12 followers of Jesus, but we have many, many more that were following him. They were seeing his miracles, they were hearing his teaching, and they were leaving behind their life in order to follow him. And so when this group comes to him and says to him, how did you get here, Rabbi? Across the lake. We were on the other side of the lake and you fed us. And now it's the next day, and how did you get over here? And of course, we know from the gospel writers, from the writing, that Jesus had walked on water and walked across. But Jesus isn't going to tell him that. He could have told him that. He could have just said, "What, I walked on water," but he chooses not to. He's not simply ready to give all of his pearls, so to speak, to these followers. So Rabbi, how did you get across? And Jesus is, immediately hearing something other than simple devotion. He's reading a lot of hardness of heart and consumerism in them. Jesus will say to them, "You didn't come to me because of my miracles. That would, I don't want you to come to me because of my miracles. My miracles are simply a pointer to who I am. But you're coming to me simply because I fed your bellies." This is just raw consumerism that Jesus is reading in them and not endorsing. And in fact, he's willing to say really hard things when it comes down to people whose motives are deeply impure. And of course, he's being really gentle with all these disciples. You get to a point where he's reading their motives, exposing their motives, and they kind of lash out at him. "Jesus, aren't you Joseph and Mary's son?" This is kind of a bit of a dig at Jesus' identity. Jesus all along is saying, "I'm the Son of Man. I'm someone that reads the heart of God and actually is the heart of God." And they're saying, "Aren't you Joseph and Mary's son?" He's causing many of them to get their backs up against the wall because he's saying this discipleship thing cannot work if you're simply out to fill your projects and motives and life ambitions up with Jesus. Jesus is not something that helps you along to fulfill your life project. Jesus is the life project. And all along, he's drawing them to understand that truly having deep intimacy with Jesus is the only thing which brings life into this world. So there's so much to say here. You're going to get a really good teaching on what true belief is. Again, belief is not just a cognitive thing that happens in the brain. Jesus is going to confront our very pride here and ask us not just to find intimacy to come to him, but in a way that is striking. "You must eat my flesh." And so good luck here. I hope the Lord speaks to you. There's so much going on in a really good way. And I'm praying for you guys today. So may the Lord bless you and keep you and make his face shine upon you today and be gracious to you and give you peace. All right, blessings, friends.